What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. In this video, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, of course. We're also going to talk about BitDigital and their recent mining update. I wanted to talk about this yesterday and do a video on it, but my kids were home sick, so I apologize for that. Now let's get started, guys. If you get something useful out of this video, make sure you like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. If you're interested, there's some links down below for some free stocks and cryptos. But let's look at this mining update. We're also going to talk about the spot Bitcoin ETF inflows, what we've been seeing, and some recent economic data to go over quickly, at least some news on it. Now, BitDigital gave their mining update for the month of May. This is the first entire month that the halving has taken rewards in half. So keep that in mind when we're looking at these numbers. First thing that they mention is their AI. They have 256 servers actively generating revenue from its BitDigital AI contract. The company earned an estimated 4.2 million of revenue from this contract during the month of May. And when you think about that quarter to quarter, just from the revenue from AI, they're making a little over 12 million just from that. I mean, before they got into this AI, their revenue in total was around 12 million or under, and their revenue has definitely been ramping up because of their recent move into AI. As for Bitcoin, BitDigital produced 63.3 Bitcoin, which is a 47% decrease compared to the prior month, and they do mention that the decrease was predominantly due to the reduction of Bitcoin block rewards following the halving. Keep in mind though that in April, the halving took effect somewhere in the middle towards the back end of April. So there was part of April where the halving did cut rewards. So I personally expected this decrease to be a little bit smaller, but then here's an explanation of why. There was also a curtailment. Their hash rate was approximately 2.54 exahash. And they say that yes, this decrease in hash rate was driven by this curtailment. So maybe their Bitcoin production would have been higher, maybe a 40% decrease if it wasn't for this curtailment. But unfortunately, they don't really give us any details on why the curtailment. Is it from the recent heat? Is it just that they're working on upgrading some machines? They don't tell us. Now, what are they holding? Well, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're holding 1,038 Bitcoin, and they're holding a 20,508 Ethereum. Their Bitcoin value is 70.1 million, and their Ethereum value is 77.1 million. Altogether, they're sitting on $147 million of digital assets. And that's not it. They also have cash equivalents of $47 million. So altogether, with their crypto, with their cash, they're sitting on a hair under $200 million. Pretty solid for a company that has recently seen profitability. Even if the upcoming quarter they're going to report is not profitable, consider that, the halving just cut rewards. Many of these miners are expecting to flip from profitability to unprofitability. Same with BitDigital here. Luckily, they do have a cash pile that can get them along until they see profitability later in the cycle. Also, they are still staking their ETH. They have 17,184 ETH actively staked, and they earned a blended APY of approximately 3.1% on their staked ETH. This basically earned them 45.8 ETH by letting it sit there and collect yield. They also mentioned some upcoming events. I'll leave the link down below if you guys want to look over anything else. I pretty much covered it all. What's BitDigital been doing on the chart? Well, it's been continuing this uptrend. I do expect we're going to continue following this ascending channel. We did recently break out of our descending channel / descending wedge. BitDigital is so close to breaking out of its previous recent high here. It is working on setting higher lows, higher highs. We have broken that downtrend, and I do expect us to follow this uptrend for at least a little while longer. What are we also seeing? We're seeing the moving averages starting to curl upwards. What I really want to see, what I'm watching for here on BitDigital, is a break of the 50 over the 200 MA. This is a golden cross. A golden cross indicates longer term bullish momentum. And while occasionally there are false flags, you can call them, we did have a golden cross here, and this literally just about marked the top on this huge spike. So golden crosses aren't necessarily always buy indicators, but typically they are a sign of a continued uptrend. For instance, besides this false golden cross we got here, we did see a golden cross back here in March of 2023. After we broke this long downtrend, BitDigital's moving averages finally flipped. We saw the 50 break over the 200. We saw our golden cross, and then it continued to rally. I do think our next golden cross will be the last golden cross until the bear market. And I do expect BitDigital to continue its overall longer term uptrend. As it stands from the bear market lows, BitDigital is up about 400%. I think by the end of this cycle, BitDigital's gains from lows will be anywhere from a 10x to a 20x. I do expect BitDigital to at the minimum be $5 to $10 by the end of this cycle. It'll probably be much higher if they can post consistent profitability, but it's a matter of getting through the next earnings, seeing where Bitcoin starts going, and seeing if the miners can start posting profitability while Bitcoin's up in the 70s, 80s, and so on. Now, we also received some economic data today, and it did cause the Bitcoin and some of the market to drop. And this article says Bitcoin price dips 1.8% as Bitcoin tackles this schizophrenic new US jobs data. And they say that because it's kind of a mixed bag. Because basically the establishment survey by BLS shows 272,000 new jobs. However, the household survey shows a large drop in the number of employed, down 408,000 jobs. So it's basically a mixed message. But yeah, the market's seeing less and less likelihood of rate cuts anytime soon. I suspect we'll be lucky if we see 1 to 2 at the very end of this year. But the economy is slowly getting worse and worse. Look at April pending home sales, for instance. April pending home sales hit the lowest level since the start of the pandemic. I do think the Fed is going to be forced to lower rates from a weak economy, not from inflation going down. Well, in reality, one will cause the other. The weak economy will cause inflation to go down. But I suspect they will start cutting rates before we get to that 2% target. Maybe it's a little above it. But I do believe the Fed won't be able to orchestrate a soft landing. Something will break, and that will be what causes the rate cuts. Is it labor? Is it housing? Is it more bank failures? It will be from something, and the Fed will be forced to lower rates because of it. It won't be simply that these high rates brought down inflation without something breaking. But you know, this is the direction things need to go. We are getting through it. We will start seeing signs of a weaker and weaker economy. The Fed will be inclined to start lowering rates, and then it'll be a matter of pumping liquidity into the economy, lowering rates, making debt cheap again, and we all live happily ever after. Now here's something nice. Here's a nice change of pace from that negative stuff we were just talking about. US spot Bitcoin ETFs see the longest ever 18-day inflow streak, and US spot Bitcoin ETFs have achieved their longest streak of consecutive net inflows since their inception. The 11 spot Bitcoin ETFs saw net inflow of 217 million, with IBIT leading the way. IBIT saw 350 million in net inflows on Thursday. We did see a large outflow from ARKB, and Grayscale gave us a $37 million outflow. Their outflows are getting small. Overall, these spot Bitcoin ETFs bring net buying. And it's in the next paragraph. Since their launch in January, the 11 spot Bitcoin ETFs have amassed a total net inflow of $15.5 billion. Despite the GBTC selling, we still have over $15 billion of inflows since the ETFs went live. This has only been a couple of months. This hasn't been very long. Where are they going to be at by the end of the year? Are they going to be close to $30 billion? And Bitcoin, while it has cooled down, we are still so close from all-time highs. In my opinion, it's really a matter of breaking this $72,000. We all know that there's a lot of liquidations coming if we can break over 72. And a break of 72,000 is also a resistance here. You can see on the chart, we have hit it as resistance. Once we can break that, I do think next target's going to be all-time high, 74,000. We break that and we are going towards 80,000. It is going to happen. It is inevitable in my opinion. For there to be any negativity, for there to be any negative sentiment when Bitcoin is up here where it's at, it's mind-blowing. If you guys remember the $15,000 days, if you guys remember the 20K days, the days where we seemed to go sideways for what felt like years. It wasn't years, but it felt like years. You know, this was when times were tough. We had over a year of time when we finally broke under 30,000, and we were basically just stuck in this range from 15 to 30,000 for over a year of time. So this couple months of boredom near all-time highs, this is much better in my opinion than where we were during the worst of the bear market, when things were sideways, when things were boring, when people were just bored. That is a whole nother level of boredom compared to here where we're just right under all-time highs. How could you be bored? How could you be bearish? Bitcoin's been in a huge uptrend. Bitcoin's in the middle of the bull cycle. Based on previous halvings, we definitely still have some juice left. I've showed you guys where the RSI gets on the monthly. Look at what we're seeing from these spot Bitcoin ETFs, which we have never seen in any other cycle. We're seeing these large amounts of inflows. We're seeing companies now getting into Bitcoin. Similar Scientific, for instance, announced adding even more Bitcoin to their treasury, and they're going to take out debt to buy even more Bitcoin. These companies are taking a page out of MicroStrategy's strategy. Bitcoin is too big to be ignored. Bitcoin is too big to fail. To think that Bitcoin is going away at this point when big money has accepted it, we are still under a 5% move from seeing new all-time highs. Despite how recently we've just kind of seen this chop, we've been somewhat sideways. I mean, we're essentially where we were 2 months ago. This is an extremely exciting time to be in Bitcoin, and it's always boring until it's not. People only want to go to the party when it's cracking. People don't want to go to the party when it's boring, but just wait because this party will get cracking. Let me know how you guys are feeling about Bitcoin. Are you bored here? Are you extremely excited? Are you having the time of your life? Miners have been doing pretty good recently. I want to see more of that. Bitcoin breaking new all-time highs and rallying will bring much higher prices to the miners. The market will realize that these miners will see profitability, despite potentially one unprofitable quarter for some, because of the halving taking rewards in half. But in my opinion, it's a matter of time until the vast majority of these Bitcoin miners see profitability throughout the rest of this cycle. This should surely bring higher prices for these Bitcoin miners, bringing in money hand over fist. And this is definitely still the time to be in the Bitcoin miners. Let me know what you guys are buying. What are you selling today? How are you feeling about Bitcoin? Do we break all-time highs this week, next week? Is it coming this month? Or are we already starting at the top and we're coming down from here? Enjoy your weekend, guys. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you next time.